Welcome to Tech Topics brought to you by Cybervenger. We help keep small businesses stay protected and compliant with cutting-edge cybersecurity and IT solutions.
Hello everyone, my name is Andy. I'm the Managing Consultant for Cybervenger. Today we're doing another deep dive into the 110 controls of the NIST 800-171 standard. Today's control, if we look down here, is 3.12.1. This is the security assessment family of controls. And these controls are broken up into multiple families, and this is the one we're on now. It says, periodically assess the security controls in organizational systems to determine if the controls are effective in their application. Okay, so it's not enough for us just to create policies and procedures and technical controls and things like that to protect our organization. We got to know if they work, if they're serving the organizational needs, if they're up to par with compliance, if they actually work with today's threats. In our previous section, family of controls, we were talking about risk assessments. And the idea is that you assess what risks could happen on a regular basis. You assess the threats, vulnerability scanning, that sort of thing. And that kind of talks about the periodic nature of security. Security is never done. It's an ongoing, continual thing. That once you get to the beginning step, you start all over and repeat. You plan, you explore, you gather information, you start deploying your changes all the way around, and then you start back over and you plan again. It's important to keep abreast of what kind of security threats are there. For example, ransomware at once upon a time was new. And existing controls, backups, being backup to tape, backup to drive, were ineffectual against ransomware because ransomware attackers will find backups and destroy them first. I've seen ransomware go, and even in case of tape, I've seen go in and sabotage the backup job themselves and let it run out for a month until the bad data was quite old on the tapes. And there's very little data on those tapes at that point that wasn't already overwritten. And then, only then would they attack. In that scenario, your tape backup, or of course, backup to disk backups were not adequate since that security changed. People had to pay the ransom, right? That's an example of a once tried and true backup control suddenly no longer being viable in the world. Again, we have security issues with ransomware where they're no longer simply trying to encrypt your data to force you to pay. They're now copying the data up. So now you need new controls to detect large data outputs. So if someone's trying to upload a terabyte of your data, you need to know about it and detect it, respond to it immediately. Those are new controls that had to be researched and figured out. So that's kind of what this is mean by security assessments when you need to periodically assess. Is what we're doing actually going to work? What's changed in the landscape? How have things evolved? What do we need to do in today's world? Now, it says periodically. It doesn't tell us exactly what period that is. I tend to go with quarterly as my default periodic time frame. If there's a NIST standard that says do something periodically, I do it quarterly. And then I adjust from there. And when I do that, write a policy, I have a justification for why I would stick with that time range or not. Think about patching. Microsoft comes out with patches once a month. You could easily say, hey, we're going to patch once per month because patches are released once a month, and patching more frequently provides no value. Likewise, patching less frequently would leave you vulnerable. That's why we decided on this particular time period. In your documentation, in your policy, in your plans, you want to write down your logic and rationale. That way you can kind of revisit and see if it still applies. In the case of this, reviewing quarterly is a good place to start. But maybe, we're looking at your controls. Maybe we can get away with that sort of thing once a year. I think risk and vulnerability assessments certainly be done more often than once a year. But maybe this you can do yearly. It kind of depends on your organization. Whatever you do, you got to have a justification for it written down. You want your policies to be defensible when they're reviewed, because they're going to be reviewed. If you ever have a breach, you need to defend yourself to the DoD that, yes, you were following NIST 800-171 at the time of the breach. You weren't breached because of criminal liability. You weren't, because there's a liability there. If you are doing business with the Department of Defense, you have to be executing 800-171 controls right now. People talk about CMMC certification coming down the pike. Indeed, it's almost here. But that's just certification to prove you're already doing these things. If you are in a breach, eyes will be on what you're doing, and you're going to have to justify your policies. And you want to make sure that you're not leaving yourself in an actionable position, that you didn't willfully ignore the requirements. So for this requirement here, you just got to review it. I'd say start with quarterly and look at what kind of threats are happening. What's changed? What are the bad guys looking for? Who are the bad guys? And you want to update your policies accordingly. So I think you get the idea there. There's a little more detail in that second cell that we were looking at earlier. I don't think you need to read it. I think you get the point that you need to figure out whether your controls, all of them. You've got 110 controls that you have to be doing for NIST, and you have other controls that you're choosing to do because you want to be more secure. Remember, this is a floor, not a ceiling. Do more, not let, you can do more. No one's complaining about extra security. But make sure that those controls, including the way you've interpreted the 110 controls of NIST, still apply in the modern world. Times always change. Things always change in technology and security. So just make sure that your policies keep up with it. That's all this control says. That's all I've got for today on that particular control, and I'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching. We hope this video has provided valuable information to you. Be sure to share this video with other small business owners to spread the word about the importance of cybersecurity. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. If you want more information about cybersecurity, visit us at www.cybervenger.com.